Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about mitosis, which is one of the types of cell divisions we need to know. We're going to go through the process of mitosis. We're going to talk about how it affects somatic cells, which are the normal cells in your body. So, of course, we're going to need to start out by drawing a cell along with the nucleus. Now, this nucleus is oversized. This one over here on the right is a regular sized cell and nucleus comparison, but regardless, we're going to make it bigger than it needs to be. So during interphase, which isn't actually a part of cell division, it's actually part of the normal operation of the cell, which happens about 90% of the cell's time. The cell is in interphase, and during interphase, the DNA is unwound inside the nucleus as these very, very long strands. And the reason that it's unwound is because the cell needs to be able to read that DNA and use it to do those day-to-day operations. And when it's unwound like this, we call it chromatin. Now, it's still DNA. It's just DNA in a specific form called chromatin. And you'll remember DNA is the code of life. It looks like a double helix molecule with those ladder bars that have the code in it. But regardless, when cell division begins, interphase ends, and the DNA begins to coil up. And now it's no longer in that shape anymore. We've entered prophase, and now that we're in prophase, the DNA has coiled more tightly into these rod-shaped structures called chromosomes. Chromosomes, there's 23 of them in the human body. Also, the spindles begin to form on the ends of the cell, and the DNA copies itself. So now there's one copy of each of the chromosomes. The nuclear membrane dissolves, and now we're in metaphase. So now that we're in metaphase, there's no more nuclear membrane. Those molecules are still there. They've just dispersed themselves. They're elsewhere in the cell. And the chromosomes will now line up in the center of the cell. That's where metaphase gets its name. The spindle begins to extend itself even further out. So it reaches those chromosomes in the center, and the nuclear membrane dissolves completely. Again, those molecules are still around, just not there. Now we're in anaphase, and during anaphase, what's going to happen first is that those chromosomes are going to start being pulled to the sides of the cell. The cell's going to begin dividing its DNA. Now there's two exact copies of the same DNA on the two different ends of the cell. And the other thing that's happening is the cell membrane is beginning to change its shape. It knows it's going to need to pinch in half, so it's elongating and pushing itself inward towards the middle. And now that we've done this, we've officially entered into telophase. And at telophase, now what's happening is the spindle is pretty much gone. Those chromosomes, again, two exact copies of the chromosomes, are on either side of the cell. The nuclear membrane reforms. Those molecules that made the nuclear membrane are still there. They're reforming to make two new nuclei. And now we're going to have something called cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is when the cell itself splits in half, the nuclear membrane grows to fill in the gap, and now we have two separate, distinct cells. The chromosomes unwind back into chromatin, and of course they're going to need to do that because now the cell's going to enter its day-to-day operations. Its first priority: grow bigger, make new cellular organelles, extend the size of the cell membrane and the cytoplasm. And once we're there, now we're back to interphase. Those cells are going to go through those normal operations. We have two identical cells. The DNA is exactly the same. And now that that's done, mitosis has finished. And that's all there is to that.